The sentient locomotive is a docile creature, indigenous to an island in the Irish Sea. It has almost no natural predators, except for one.
It's a me.
On Sodor, trucks are the primary mode of transport for goods like coal, stone, and many other things. Though certainly essential, they are called troublesome trucks for a reason, as they delight in causing mishaps. Why are they like this?
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
We talked a bit about personification in my Rusty and the Boulder video, and the Reverend Audrey drew from real life to create these little troublemakers. The idea for this video came from Tom, and wouldn't have been made without his knowledge and support. Thanks, Tom. He also makes really cool models. Before the 1950s and 60s, most goods trains did not have continuous brakes. That's when all brakes on the wagons can be engaged from a single source point. Passenger trains were fitted with this equipment, but goods trains relied on the stopping power from only the engine and the brake van at the end of the train. Trains usually consisted of a large number of private wagons, which are not owned by the railway. These belonged to the people ordering their goods to be moved, as the railways often required them to supply their own wagons. This is why some of the trucks in Thomas have names. Because of this, many customers didn't spring to upgrade them with brakes in order to keep costs low, and thus they were essentially loose in the train. When you get that many rogue trucks lined up, it makes sense how it could get out of control due to circumstances like a hill. All of that weight pushing against the engine is a recipe for disaster. Sometimes the opposite was a problem. Brakes would slip on when they weren't supposed to. Private wagons were often poorly maintained, meaning they could only withstand limited workloads at low speeds. Otherwise, there was a risk of malfunction, such as an overheated axle box, causing the whole truck to fall apart in service.
Bruh.
With runaways, breakaways, and all sorts of difficulties, it's no wonder Audrey personified the trucks as such a nuisance. In Thomas, there are no villains, at least not in the early years. There is conflict though, and the trucks are typically at the center of it. They act as a foil to the engines. A foil is a character who contrasts with another character, typically the protagonist, in order to better highlight or differentiate certain qualities of the protagonist. The trucks play to the naivete of Percy, James's anger, and Diesel's ego. They find a way to humble the engines quite swiftly. On the flip side, there are some characters who are shown to deal with trucks very well. Edward is level-headed, Toby is experienced, and Peter Sam is just such a nice guy that the trucks give him a pass.
Faster! Faster! They yell. No, no, wailed the empty cars. It's Peter Sam, but it was no use.
The troublesome trucks act as a great baseline or control for understanding the personalities of these different characters. It's easy to think that the engines all do the same thing. They pull things from point A to point B. That's the job. But it's in the way they do it that brings them to life. More on that later. The emotional obstacles these mongrels present give us some insight into the relationship between engines and trucks.
Your color's nice, James. Pity about your face, though. Said a freight car.
In Duck and the Diesel Engine, Diesel spreads rumors about the big engines to the trucks. And then they just bully them relentlessly.
Boo! You suck!
This is a major breach of trust, as Henry points out.
We engines have our differences, but we never talk about them to the trucks. That would be disgraceful, said Gordon. Disgusting, put in James. Despicable, finished Henry.
Because they believe Duck is the one spreading the rumors, they shun him from the sheds. Diesel's plan relies on the alliance of engines against troublesome trucks. In fact, they're a key part of every tentpole in this arc. The whole reason the feud between Diesel and Duck starts is because the trucks are teasing Diesel and he blames Duck. Then the trucks spread the rumors for Diesel and a breakaway causes Duck's accident before he returns home. They're major players at every turn. And why shouldn't they be? They're a necessary part of everyday life for the engines. It makes sense that they'll play prominent roles. We hear a lot about the preferences engines have with trucks. It's often seen as lowly work, unbecoming for an engine of prestige.
The shame of it! The shame of it! Oh, the shame of it!
But the trucks have their own preferences too.
Who Who's this dirty little engine? Cried the freight cars. We want Thomas or Duck.
They hold themselves in high regard, even against other rolling stock.
It's so exciting to go forwards for a change instead of always seeing things sliding away from me.
The freight cars were cross with Toad. Who's he to start complaining? He's lucky to be able to look after us. Let's teach him a lesson.
They like working with the engines that they deem worthy of working with them.
Cheeky.
When they feel mistreated or wronged and don't get a chance to pay back the perpetrator, they'll just unleash their wrath on the next victim that comes along.
We couldn't pay James back for bumping us, so we'll play tricks on Thomas instead. One engine is as good as another.
Even though they're capable of differentiating between engines, they're not just fighting personal battles, they're fighting the system. The trucks have no autonomy. They're forced to bend to the will of the engines. But coaches can't move on their own either, and yet they never seem to cause trouble. But the thing the coaches have is status. Pulling coaches to an engine is an honor. Engines like Gordon, who pull them almost exclusively, is one of the main reasons his ego is so inflated. The coaches are well maintained and treated with respect. The trucks, on the other hand, are dirty and get bumped all the time. As a quick note, cleanliness is shown to be a very important quality. The trains for the most part stay clean, while the trucks are intensely grimy and industrial. Contrast. Many engines are ashamed to pull them. They're at the bottom of the railway food chain, so I can see why they like getting their wins when they can. Even if it means their own death, I guess. Kind of are just psychopaths. When an engine is nice to them, though, it makes a difference. Kindness really can go a long way. Now, here's a kicker. Why don't all the trucks have faces? This is something I've always questioned on a broader scale, as why do some vehicles have faces and some don't? I think we may actually already know the answer. We're coming back to personification. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Audrey personified the vehicles based on their real-life behaviors. Little quirks were interpreted as personality. The Troublesome trucks have a lot of character because of the unpredictable ways they act. But what about trucks that roll nicely and leave no meaningful impressions? If something isn't memorable to you, you're just gonna let it fade into the background. Oftentimes, when things work just as they should, we take that for precedent and give our attention to things that need it. Objects gain character with individuality, in contrast with things that just fall in line. All engines pull trains, but the way they do it gives them their personalities. All wagons are pulled, but it's about how they roll. The main cast of Thomas have distinct traits that make them interesting. A sickly engine who doesn't always work as intended, or an old engine that clanks. What sets them apart from the crowd? The face is just there to personify the character that is already present. It sounds corny to say that they have faces because of imagination, but I think that's the clearest way to put it. And in the end, it's the simple things that mean the most.